Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Clear the air lanes for the big broadcast.
We're not professional podcasters.
Say what?
We barely know what we're doing,
It's funny because it's true.
but we have fun anyway.
I'm here to podcast.
Does everybody know what time it is?
We're going streaky! Yeah!
No, we're not. It's time for movies, pop culture, and more with the all-new Culture Cast, starting now.
I'm the Gorehound,
I'm Jen.
And I'm Nick.
and we're the all-new Culture Cast, back for the latest edition. This week we are doing a little bit of catch-up, so get excited.
Woo!
Catch Up Volume 2.
Yeah, primarily the result of Nick not checking his Facebook until only once a week.
Can we just talk about how Nick said that he doesn't need Facebook because he has a life? But, I have some questions about that, you know?
What are your questions?
What are you doing instead of Facebook? Why aren't the things you're doing where you have a life then showing up on Facebook?
And you check Facebook, once a day. Just scroll for a minute and you're like, okay, I'm good.
Facebook is the worst.
It really is.
What else are you supposed to do while you're, brushing your teeth?
I don't know. Brush your teeth. Focus on that so you don't get plaque and gingivitis.
And just look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I am beautiful.
Do you put on this? Oh, I said, how much attention do you need to, celebrate, brushing your teeth?
I guess not much, but, it's not like I'm not going to bring, my laptop into the bathroom so I could check Facebook and see what idiot friends of mine decide to post something
I cannot
political.
wait for you to get a smartphone. I cannot wait.
I know that day will come. I acknowledge that day will come, but
it happened to me.
Until I'm forced to do it, I'm content with what I have.
Such a weirdo.
All right. This week we are just talking about whatever we want because we don't really have a topic in mind, so we're just doing a little bit of catch-up.
Do you have a man crush of the week?
Yeah, but that's not the segment that we start off with, so Jen, calm your shit.
Wait a second.
Hold on.
You're saying for a catch-up episode we're going to talk about what we watched, then what are we going to talk about in the catch-up?
Yeah, that's the whole episode. This episode could be alternatively titled, What Have We Been Watching? The episode.
Okay.
I think we could skip this week for that one, because that's the entire sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. I will start us off. The man crush of the week is it's kind of going to lead into pretty much most of what else I've been watching. But Jeremy Renner.
Huh.
I know, right? He's great.
What's he been doing lately?
For some reason, I just got this mad desire to watch Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. I don't know where.
God.
I don't know how, but it happened. And I was on a desperate search one night just to find this movie, and it was nowhere. It wasn't on Netflix, it wasn't on Amazon, it wasn't on Sling. I could not find it, and I was actually kind of perturbed. So it was it's 2017. I should be able to watch whatever movie I want, whenever I want.
Entitlement, people!
And so I kind of went searching online to see where I could get it, because Redbox isn't going to have it, and I didn't want to try my chances at the video store, and so I ended up buying it for $3.90 on eBay, which is a fantastic deal.
Blu-ray or DVD?
Oh yeah, Blu-ray, and it was the
nice.
unrated cut, because that's what I really wanted to see. Was apparently there was, honestly, the only reason I wanted this unrated cut was because there were 10 or 15 minutes more of gore in it. So yeah, that's what I did, and it came in the mail, and I watched it, and I was so happy with it. After watching that, I ended up going on to a Gemma Arterton binge. And I try to find as many movies with her in it, but I will.
Nothing good.
We can circle around. So yeah, that is the man crush of the week is Jeremy Renner. Oh, one last thing to add to that is because also if you look at his past few movies that he's done, he has had roles with Gemma Arterton, Elizabeth Olsen, and Linda Cardellini, and that is quite impressive if you ask the Gorehound.
Mm-hmm.
But not Oscar-nominated Amy Adams. That's not impressive either.
Who's that? I know. Yeah, I mean, that's impressive and all, but... So, Nick, let's turn the show around. What have you been up to?
Well, actually, my wife and I, we have decided to start retaking advantage of our local movie theater, which has $5 Tuesdays, and going to the movies on Tuesday. I think I brought this up the past couple of weeks in passing. So we've actually been seeing quite a few new movies lately. First off, we just saw a couple days ago Kong Skull Island.
Oh, certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes. They have sold out.
Was it really?
Yes.
And you know what? It's probably the most satisfying blockbuster I've seen in a long, long time.
Oh yeah? That's good to hear. I didn't hear good things about it, and I was like, oh.
Well, those people are idiots. Here's the thing. It's not like it's not going to be a high-end Oscar award-winning piece, obviously, but it's just a lot of fun. Yeah. And when you go to a movie like this, you just leave just enjoying yourself. Like, it's a perfect popcorn flick. Some of the main characters played by Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson are as paper thin as you can get, but everything surrounding them is just really, really good. The action is great. The characters played by Sam Jackson and John Goodman are developed well enough to where you want to see them through. And the person who steals the movie is John C. Reilly, who plays an army guy from World War II who crashed his plane on the island like 30 years before.
What's the connection to the other King Kong?
None.
None whatsoever? The one with Jack Black?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay.
No connection whatsoever. It's its own thing.
But they are trying to link this up with an eventual King Kong versus Godzilla, right?
They are.
Okay.
And I'm sure by then the movie will become a soulless product, but aka the Marvel films. Yeah. But as this being just a film on its own, it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. It's kind of like what I wish Jurassic World was this fun. And as you might remember, Gorehound, our first episode was Jurassic World, and I didn't care much for that movie.
Yeah. But, so you would say that this movie was more fun than Jurassic World?
Oh, hands down.
And you think it's also better than Jurassic World?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Is there a Chris Pratt equivalent in this one?
There's like the hero type.
Who's the biggest piece of eye candy in this movie besides King Kong?
Besides, I would say the biggest piece of eye candy would be Tom Hiddleston. But this is the thing that I liked about the film, is that there wasn't like lingering shots of our heroes, like look at how great they look and how like muscly, or no shots of like Brie Larson, like look how beautiful she is, like other blockbusters would have. They don't like stoop to that level. It's just like a group of people doing their thing. Yeah. You'll like it because there's a couple of elements of gore in the film.
Nice.
Nothing over the top.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. So
yeah, the previews did look good, and I was disappointed to hear that people were saying that it wasn't that great. But yeah, because I wanted to see, because I really did like the original King Kong, even in it's like 3 hours. But I wanted to see something more violent, and the trailers for this made it look like awesome action movie.
Yeah, the thing that I liked about it a lot was, unlike other films where it takes forever for you to see your titular monster,
sure.
they don't waste time.
Yeah.
Kong pops up fairly early on in the film, and I was very happy about that.
How much screen time does he get?
Just enough to where you're not like wishing, where's Kong? Where's Kong? Where's Kong? And not enough where it's like Kong overload. Yeah. Like he pops up just enough, and they make his appearances count. Like I never saw the Godzilla film from a few years back.
Oh my gosh, you need to see that.
Yeah, that's what people say.
Oh, it's so great.
See, I heard one of the biggest criticisms is that anytime Godzilla shows up, they cut away.
Yeah, because they didn't show him head on very often, but when they did, it was so sick. And I think I mentioned this before, but he has this sick tail whip at the end of near the end of the movie. That's just, you could watch that movie. You can watch that scene on repeat, and I do.
With this film, I don't. There's none of that. Like, you see Kong, he does his thing, he goes away for a little bit, he comes back, and you're never left wanting more. Well, I mean, let me take that back. When the movie's over, you're like, yeah, that was cool, but in terms of like actually watching the movie, it's not like you're, well, when's Kong going to show up again?
Yeah.
So the movie was, I liked it. I liked it a lot. But yeah, I recommend it. I really do.
Cool.
And one last thing is that there are some bits in the movie that are hilarious, the way they do some shots, and there's some things that totally play against expectations. And I don't want to spoil it because it's one of the most unintentionally funny things in the film, if that makes any sense. And it comes best from a surprise. So they do a couple of cool things in the film that you wouldn't expect.
Is it some gorilla nudity?
No.
Okay.
There's no gorilla nudity.
I'm gonna assume the gorilla's naked the whole time.
Well, he is naked, but you don't see, you don't...
Some belt down action.
No, you don't see any, bananas and nuts.
And that is a point to end on. That is good. I like that.
Well, that's our episode, everyone.
Yeah, that's good.
I guess that'll do it for my first one.
Yeah. Jen, how about yourself?
Okay, guys, hold on to your horses.
Wait, did you see a new release? It was an Oscar nominee.
No, I haven't seen anything that got nominated for an Oscar since the Oscars happened. So
because you saw all of them beforehand.
Well, because I saw, what was it? It was 55 out of the 66. Jeez. So those last 11 I haven't seen. I have seen a new release, which I will talk about later.
Was it King Kong?
No, weirdly enough, it was not King Kong. It was probably never going to be King Kong. No, but the thing I think our listeners would most want to hear about is I went and saw Hamilton last week.
Oh, yes, I saw it. That's awesome. They did that.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So I went with a couple of friends and we bought the tickets back in September. Just to give you an idea of how hard it was to get these tickets. And this is in Chicago, not in New York, where it's already been playing for a year and a half. But tickets are still super hard to come by.
Is it? I mean, you don't have to say the price, but I thought that the price was like outrageous.
So I can tell you, I don't care. So we were in the theater, so we were not on the main floor. We were on the balcony, and we were, I don't know, let's say 8 seats up, and our tickets cost about $200 a person.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Which is a lot,
but worth it apparently.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
No, it was. Don't get me wrong, it was a lot of money, but I mean, it's also a lot of show, and I wanted it.
Yeah.
So
that's super
anyway,
cool.
but it was really amazing. It was really neat. I would heartily recommend anyone who gets the chance, but I will say, I mean, you can get the full story if you listen to the CD. So definitely people should engage with that as a pop culture phenomena.
I have to say, the Graveyard Queen went to the library to try to see if she could find the soundtrack to it. And so she was looking around and she saw it and she asked, there was a library attendant there and she was like, is this really the Hamilton thing? And he was like, yeah, isn't it great? And she brought it home and it was just this audio book on Alexander Hamilton, just a historical documentation. But the guy was like, yeah, it is, because apparently he was excited about the literal person, and it was clearly not the musical.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting from this story is that your wife is easily tricked.
I probably would,
by evil librarian.
I probably would have fallen for it. I probably would have been duped also. But you saw the Book of Mormon, right?
I did.
I thought that was fantastic. Would you say that this was just as fantastic as that one?
I would say even better, and here's why I'm going to say that. I really like Book of Mormon, but I will say that in terms of... So I actually ended up seeing Book of Mormon twice. Tickets were cheaper to Book of Mormon, but the first time I saw it when it came through Chicago for the first time, and then I saw it again when it came through for the second time. I really enjoy Book of Mormon, but I have to say that if you listen to the CD, there's 3 or 4 songs that I would listen to more than once, and then a whole bunch that I would not listen to more than once. like they're fine within the context of the story, but they're just not repeat listens. But I think Hamilton is a lot stronger musically, and just as much as I think Mormons are fascinating, but I also think history is fascinating. So
yeah, I would imagine that Hamilton might have a little bit more cultural value because actually I don't know. Different.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of debate that, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, Book of Mormon was definitely like very important, but I don't know if it was quite as groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really like Book of Mormon as a show, so no complaints there.
You guys do realize that we did a whole podcast on Book of Mormon, right?
I quickly forget.
Don't even remember.
We could probably talk about it again, and it wouldn't ring a bell.
Kind of like Kevin Smith once.
You should just cut in that podcast in this section. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then the podcast is twice as long.
Jen, have you seen anything else, or you want to add on another thing, or?
We'll come back around to me. Someone else can tell something.
Right. Can I jump in your Hamilton conversation really quickly?
Absolutely.
No, it's already over.
Okay.
Do you mean our Book of Mormon discussion?
Yeah, I know, right? I haven't seen Hamilton.
Sure.
I probably won't in a long, long time if I see it ever because, tickets are like an arm and a leg. But I had a Hamilton dream last night, of all things.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
It was very random. Like, I used to teach high school. I used to be involved in the theater at my high school. I dreamt that I went back to visit the high school because I was seeing their musical. And they were doing Hamilton, of all things. And I was like, wow, I can't believe you guys were able to do Hamilton. I figured that was still on Broadway. You're not, like, allowed to do Hamilton. Because there's some weird rule that if a show is on Broadway, your local productions can't do it. And they're like, oh, yeah, we were able to do it. And there's one thing specific I remember about the dream is that they cast, like someone super young, like super, super young as Alexander Hamilton. I'm like, why is that little kid the lead? But because he was so young, and Hamilton, I'm assuming this happens in the show, but in real life, Hamilton dies in doing a duel.
Yes.
And they were replaying that scene in my dreams version of Hamilton. And because the kid was so young, they couldn't allow him to actually die on the stage. So, like, Nick, you have to go step in when he's supposed to die, and you have to be shot in his place. Like, not literally shot, but, stage shot. And so I'm like, all right. And so I do that, and then they drag me off stage as if I'm like a dead body. It was very strange. So anyway.
Yeah, Alexander Hamilton dies at like the age of 53. So if he is being played by a small child, that would be pretty phenomenal.
Well, what's even funnier is like I was asking the person in charge, like, oh, you guys are casting from, outside the high school now? Like, no, these are all high school students. And I was like, no, that can't possibly be true. But I have weird dreams. What can I say? I think Gorehound, you're up.
Yeah, I'm going to put in two. One of them is pretty quick. It's I wanted to put in a recommendation for the podcast called Missing Richard Simmons.
Yes!
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's because you guys were talking about it last time we saw each other. Yeah, I did check.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I did check it out, and it is really good. I feel like it is like the hippest podcast out there right now, but it is really good and intriguing. And I never really thought about this guy, even like when he was like really popular, but it's good.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Today they released a new episode, the 5th one, and it was so amazing. I loved it so much. They said they're only going to 6 episodes, so
one more.
Unless he decides to tell us what's going on.
Yeah, and it's very intriguing because you want to know what happens at the end, and it holds your suspense to it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if anything is going to conclude at the end, because in like the end of Serial, there wasn't really a conclusive end.
Right.
And it was kind of disappointing.
Right. Well, you can't make real life,
Right. I think that's what makes podcasts so fantastic, is that it's not like a complete story. It's really just a recorded conversation.
Dear Richard Simmons, please come back to life so we can end our podcast.
Nick, do you think you'll ever check it out?
Probably not.
No.
It's pretty good, and by the time it's over, it will only be like a couple hours.
Yeah, because they're pretty short too. Nick, what podcasts are you listening to nowadays?
Oh, the all-new Culture Cast.
Honestly, what other podcasts do you listen to?
I haven't listened to podcasts in a long time.
Really?
I wouldn't mind, but I just don't have like the right time to listen to the podcasts because
don't you have a long drive?
Yeah, but he doesn't have a smartphone.
And I like listening to the radio, and like I can't listen to it at work.
Yeah.
Well, I can, but when I'm at work, I can't listen to. I put on music, but I can't listen to anything that like has lyrics or something because I'll get too distracted. So I listen to more instrumental stuff. And
Some Beethoven.
Podcast. Well, like movie soundtracks, I like listening to, and like if I have a podcast on, I know I don't think I'd be able to type and write something and listen to something at the same time. It'll just jack me up.
I'm the complete opposite. I listen to like maybe between like 2 and 4 hours of podcast a day, or 2 and 4 hours of either podcast or music a day, because it just helps me cruise and just zone out and just work.
I used to listen to the Superman podcast, which is actually pretty good because it was going over.
You want a name drop?
The era. What's that?
You want a name drop?
From Crisis to Crisis.
Ooh.
It goes over the era of Superman that when I was getting into the character, so it's kind of nostalgia fuel for me. Yeah, and I started listening to a podcast about podcasts, like how to improve your podcast, so I could improve this shit show.
Gosh.
But I kind of stopped.
Oh my God, what happened?
You're crazy.
So.
All right. Moving on. So yeah, check out Missing Richard Simmons if you're interested in that. But one of the second movies, since I was really into Hansel and Gretel, and then I really got into Gemma Arterton, I've tried to find as many Gemma Arterton films as I could, and one of them was The Voices, also starring Ryan Reynolds. I believe.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's Ryan Reynolds, Gemma Arterton, Anna Kendrick are in it. But it's also directed by, her name is Marjane Satrapi, who is also the author of Persepolis, one of the more popular graphic novels and the sequel to it. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of the comic book, but not the movie.
Yeah, Persepolis is basically a graphic novel about a girl growing up during the Iranian Revolution. And it's really good, and I think even there's some college classes regarding it, kind of like that Mouse movie with the Nazi mice. But yeah, this movie is directed by her, and it's got Ryan Reynolds, who's this, I forgot, he's got multiple personalities, or I think schizophrenic or something like that. And he's trying to go through life, but he's insane because he sees two different perspectives of the world. One of them is everything is happy and jolly, and then the other half is you actually get to see reality and the shithole that he's living in, and he's talking to his animals, and it's a very bipolar movie, but it's very good in the way that it's executed, because you switch from happy go jolly to just shit show in an instant, and then you see other people's perspectives of his bipolarness, and ultimately it's a horror movie, but it's also got some deeper elements to it, and it's Ryan Reynolds and Gemma Arterton, so you can't really complain about that. So yeah, it wasn't fantastic, but it was still really good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Nick, where are you at?
I'm right here.
All right, stay there.
Another thing that I just recently been finishing up here is the current season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia ended, and it ended with a very unexpected way. The show does not really have an ongoing story arc or...
Wait, just the season ended, right? Not the...
Yes, the season. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Still going on.
The season ended. Yeah, I think they're renewed for at least 2 more seasons. But that's in question now because the way this season ended made it seem like one of the main characters is leaving the show. And normally you'd think, they're just setting up a cliffhanger for next year or something. Mm-hmm. But even after the episode ended, the actor came out and it's I don't know if I'm returning next year. And made even more perplexing is that he took a role in another TV show. So they're not sure if he's going to be back, and even more questions.
Are you talking about Charlie Day?
No, Charlie Day's still around. I'm talking about Glenn Howerton.
Okay.
Who was, interestingly enough, up for the role of Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy, but lost out to Chris Pratt. He was saying, like, yeah, he wasn't sure if he was going to come back, and everything. And part of me says, oh, he's just doing that to create suspense. But another part of me is like, he might actually be telling the truth. And in addition to him being one of the main characters on the show, he also is like one of the co-creators, producers, and main writers of the show. So it brings in the question, if he doesn't come back, how will that affect the show overall? Because this show has a very weird way of how it's produced. What happens with it is that they write the entire season before the season goes in front of cameras. And then after that, they have to strategically plot out how the shooting schedule is, because they only get Danny DeVito for a very short period of time. Mm-hmm. So they need to film all of his scenes at once throughout the entire season.
Is that because he's so expensive, you think?
I just think he has a wacky schedule, and they're trying to accommodate it as best they can. It's been to the point where they would have to pay guest stars twice, because they would come in for an episode, shoot their scenes with Danny DeVito, and then weeks later, when they film the rest of the episode, they'd have to hire them back for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So it's a very, I don't want to say convoluted, but complicated way to do their show.
Yeah, I imagine.
Which obviously would take a lot of time, even though they produce only 10 episodes a season. So if he's committed to another show full time, I don't know how he would be able to do both, theoretically. So it's interesting. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with it. The show will probably come back sometime, probably next January. So a lot of stuff that would come up between now and then. So, but as a whole, the past season of It's Always Sunny was 50-50. The show is really, I don't want to say they're not out of ideas, but they're really pushing the envelope of what they can get away with. And I don't mean
hasn't it been on for like 19 years?
It's in its like 11th or 12th season. Yeah, it's been on for a long time. But it's almost like they're like, let's see what crazy concept we'll come up with this time and see what we can get away with. Which sometimes it works, other times it's just doesn't work. Like they had one episode last season where the entire episode was done from Danny DeVito's point of view. Like instead of actually seeing everyone, the camera was
on his face.
He was looking out of Danny DeVito's eyes. Yeah. Which I'm sure was done partially as a way to get around him not being able to film.
Yeah.
But it was like a clever concept, but the episode was just not very good. Mm. So it's and they had a couple of weird ones like that this year. Like they had a whole musical episode which tried to deal with race relations, and while it was funny in some elements, I don't think it worked all that well together, despite a cameo appearance by Scott Bakula. But so the show had a good run. I mean, if it hangs up at the end of its current contract, I would be okay with that. But that's all I gotta say about that.
I wouldn't mind watching that because I feel like it might be like a modern day equivalent of Seinfeld, where it's not
totally is.
Right, because it's not like ridiculously funny like Big Bang Theory is, and it's not like Friends. It's just actually
you and I have a different definition of ridiculously funny, because I don't think Big Bang Theory is all that funny.
Oh no, just like no, I do not think it is funny. I think it's more of a superficial type of funny, whereas Seinfeld is more rooted in more serious circumstances.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Always Sunny is very much like that. The entire show's on Netflix, so
right, and I've seen that. We just finished, or we're watching a series right now, and as soon as we're done, I don't know what we're going to watch. I'm kind of just embracing not watching anything at the moment. But I did see that was on. But also, I'm also pretty excited to watch Iron Fist, even though I'm not really sure how to feel about that.
It's getting lousy reviews.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'll still watch it regardless.
Of course.
So,
all right. Jen, I think you're up next.
Okay. I went and saw, Thor and I went and saw Get Out.
Ooh, exciting.
Which was, look, I do think we should have an episode on this, so I'm not going to say too much. But I will say it was really phenomenal. And I think, part of the reason I went and saw it, I mean, I would have seen it anyway, but part of the reason I went and saw it, as opposed to, giving it a few more weeks or whatever, was because it is like such a part of the cultural conversation right now. I feel like every time I went on Facebook, I was worried I was going to click on an article that would give away, spoilers. And I wanted to go into it as unspoiled as possible.
Yeah. And I'm just really happy for the guy that, like, it's such a success.
Yeah, it was for a debut movie. I mean, it's a good movie, even if it hadn't been his debut. But he made more money than any other black director ever has, which is, amazing. And it was a really, so like I said, I'd like to do an episode on this at some point in the future. But
most definitely,
until then,
I'm down. I know the Kiwi and I are tentatively planning on seeing that next week on our Tuesday movie night.
Well, perfect.
So.
Perfect. And then you'll have to let me know what you think. Because, Thor and I loved it. Everyone I know who's seen it has really enjoyed it. So definitely leave some conversations afterwards.
Ever since I first saw the original trailer for it about 6 months ago, I was like, this movie looks amazing. So I'm very excited. Apparently Sam Jackson doesn't like it, but, Sam Jackson is Sam Jackson.
I will say, so I, was in the movie theaters a lot leading up to the Oscars, and I saw the preview for it about 900 times.
I honestly have not seen this trailer yet, and I watch like every trailer out there. I just haven't come across it.
It is a good trailer. But there were certain points in the movie where I was like, I know this scene. I've seen this scene 6 times. I could recite this along with the characters.
Maybe I'll try to hold out and see a movie trailer free.
Yeah, no, you gotta run out and see it. I mean, clear your weekends. I'm fine with it. Anyway, so that is something I am going to heavily recommend for everyone.
Yeah, the next movie that I saw is continuing on with Gemma Arterton, was The Disappearance of Alice Creed. Have you guys heard of it? It's kind of an older one. I think it's like early 2000s, maybe 2007. I don't know. Never heard of it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it wasn't that great. I think it was one of her first roles. Basically about this heist movie where 2 guys basically kidnap Alice Creed, Gemma Arterton, and demanded ransom for it, and hijinks pursue, and she tries to escape, and the 2 kidnappers are not who they said they were, and it wasn't that great, but I was going for a Gemma Arterton movie, and it worked well. So not a whole lot else to say about that, and that concludes my Gemma Arterton and Jeremy Renner run.
Okay.
Nick, let's hear it.
All right, I think one of the last things, and this is like a 2-for-1, I guess, because nothing else is jumping to mind immediately while we've been watching anything big. But last Tuesday, we decided to watch, because it was on TV. I've seen it before. 2013's The Wolverine, starring Hugh Jackman. The Kiwi had never seen it, and she wanted to see it before seeing Logan. I think that movie, for a superhero movie, I think that movie is a lot of fun. I think it's really good. I think it's a cut above your average superhero movie. Gets kind of stupid at the end, but thumbs up. And we saw this in preparation because last weekend we went and saw the movie Logan, which was probably my most anticipated film of this year, mostly because I like Hugh Jackman as Logan. And it's a pretty good movie. If you didn't know it was a superhero movie, you would not have realized it was a superhero movie.
Does he not have claws?
Well, I mean, okay. Let me reframe that.
If he was a normal guy with claws, it wouldn't be that weird.
Let's just put it like this: you could take some superficial things away, and it would just be a standard non-superhero film. It's so different from anything else that's out there right now. It's so bleak, like not bleak where you want to cut yourself or anything like that. Well, it's not depressingly bleak, but it's so much more of a character piece. There's no big bombastic explosions, and I mean there's fight sequences in there, obviously.
Can you give us a brief summary? of the movie?
Sure. It takes place in the future.
Okay.
The character of Logan is getting old after so many
So is
years.
Hugh Jackman.
Well, yeah. After so many years, his regeneration stuff is not working the way it is. Like, even him popping out his claws take a long time, and there's a scene where he's literally grabbing a claw and having to pull it out to have it actually come out.
Okay.
He's taking care of a nearly senile Professor X. He's living on the Mexican border, being a limo driver just to make ends meet. And by happenstance, he comes across this young girl who needs to go to North Dakota to escape these people that are pursuing her. And as we go through the movie, I don't want to give any spoilers away, as we go through the movie,
Right.
we learn that there's a connection between Logan and this girl and the group that this girl is being pursued by, leading to a final showdown in the woods of, I guess that'd be North Dakota or something like that. It had a very Western feel to it, and because of that, it just feels so incredibly different. Like, in many superhero movies, no one cares about the plot. No one remembers the plot. It's all about, the cool effects and everything. This here is so much a character piece, is so much the characters move the story as opposed to the story moving the characters. And it was just something refreshing to see in that genre. Now, I fear of what because it made buku bucks, it's getting rave reviews. Some people say Oscar buzz. I don't quite believe that. Only because A, it's March. People forget about movies in March when the Oscars come around.
Absolutely.
And B, I think it still has the superhero stigma, which typically superhero films don't get any high-end awards.
Yeah.
Or nominated. But I fear of what other companies are going to say. Like, hey, that did good. Maybe our movie should be like that, and it's just going to dilute what made this one sort of special and different. But I guess that's another worry for another day. But
I have a question.
Sure.
So we've had so many movies with Wolverine in them, both as just an X-Man and also, focusing specifically on him. Did you feel like there was more story to tell with this character? Did it feel like a good use of the character or a reason to bring him out of retirement?
Well, it's a good send-off for the character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with characters like this, you can always tell stories. Like, between this movie...
Weird.
Yeah, and Wolverine is in most X-Men comics. So there's really, a million stories that you can tell, because he's joined a whole bunch of different factions.
And you know what? Eventually, one day, they're going to recast Wolverine if these X-Men movies keep going on.
Right.
But Hugh Jackman clearly wanted to... He knew he was getting older, and he knew he couldn't keep doing the role forever, which is a smart thing to think about. So he went into this movie thinking, okay, this is my last time. He wanted to make it the best movie he could, and I really think it shows. So
this is his last movie, right?
Yeah, and unless they bring a huge dump truck of money to his house and says, we want you to come again, which I hope they don't, because this movie ends on such a good note for his character that it would be almost disrespectful to bring him back to do another one.
So they're definitely going to do that then.
I would hope Hugh Jackman would be classy enough to say no.
So I have a friend who's Australian. Actually, I have a few friends who are Australian. But one of my friends who is Australian, knows Hugh Jackman through a friend kind of thing.
Ooh.
I mean,
Can he get him to come? He can get him to come on our podcast, right?
Nice.
No.
Great.
No.
Let me be first. Clear. Hugh Jackman's going to be a guest on the all-new podcast.
I am so excited.
Perfect. I guess then I have to go see Logan, But anyway, apparently he's, a ridiculously nice guy and, really cool and generous with the fans and, so it's I couldn't even be that mad, you know what I mean?
Why would you be mad?
I couldn't be mad if somebody offered him a dump truck full of money to come back to the role.
I would hope to think that unless he did it with... The only way I see it doing it if he has some sort of jokey cameo in a Deadpool movie. But in terms of coming back to the actual role to be, I'm here to save you, X-Men. I don't, which is exactly how it'll sound like. I don't, I would hope to think he'd be classy enough to say, no, I'm good.
It was an amazing Hugh Jackman imitation, by the way.
It was my Wolverine imitation, get it straight.
Can I jump in? Because you mentioned Hugh Jackman coming on the podcast, and there were... I know you're not serious, but there's actually two
I am.
podcasts. One that I listened to like a long time ago. It's called the Sylvester Stallone podcast, and it's got Paul Scheer in it. And basically, the entire podcast is Paul Scheer like waiting for Sylvester Stallone to come and like interview on the podcast. But like each episode, he's not coming. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And like you see his life fall apart all because like Sylvester Stallone isn't coming on. Obviously, Sylvester Stallone was like never slated to do this, but it's a really good podcast.
Was it a series, or
is
it like over, or does it still happen?
Yeah, it's a Wolf Pop series, so it's one of those like scripted ones.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
So, and there was also, as I was doing some Jeremy Renner research, it was like the similar thing where there's this podcast where they're like, Jeremy Renner's going to be on here, and we're just like waiting for him to come on, and they were just like talking about like his movies, and he's like, oh, okay, I guess he's not coming on. End of podcast. I don't remember the name. It was just one of those random ones.
It's kind of like a waiting for Godot sort of thing.
Yeah. All right, where are we at?
I think I went. So is it your turn, Gorehound, or is it Jen's turn?
Gorehound, do one. Perfect. I've got one more.
One of them is just like a random movie that I watched. I think it was because I watched Kung Fury. I believe it was kind of related. It's called The Wraith. It was on Netflix. It's like an 80s film. It's got Charlie Sheen in it. And it just like has this. Netflix thought I would like give it out of 5 out of 5, and it was just like this action sci-fi movie from the 80s about like racing cars and like bullies and like getting the girl, and it was pretty legit. Enjoyed it. Like nothing to be remembered by, like no Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was still a classic 80s, and it's so nice to like just discover this like rare gem of. Like a nostalgic movie like this that really brings you back. I think I would watch it. I watched it while I was going to sleep one night. So it's one of those kind of movies where you're not gonna like watch it on a Friday night, but maybe on a like Friday night after 11 o'clock type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and this was called The Wraith.
Yeah, on Netflix.
Okay.
So, Jen, I can assure you would not be interested unless you like
Absolutely
have a thing
not.
for Charlie Sheen or whatnot. Like a young Charlie Sheen riding a motorbike.
Absolutely not. If I ever did, and I don't really feel I ever did, but if I ever did, I think his behavior in the past, his entire life, would be
He's got tiger blood.
Blah.
All right, Jen, let's hear it.
Okay, so I think I've mentioned before my love of murder podcasts.
Yes, you have, and crime.
Yeah, no, I think there's just a certain amount of... There's a not insignificant number of people out there who also look murder podcasts. And I know this because they are always publishing lists on BuzzFeed about what the best murder podcasts of the week are.
And a lot of my coworkers also listen to a lot of those, but I don't. And so, like, we both listen to podcasts a lot, but just very different genres.
Do you know which ones they listen to?
I think one of them is like literally called like crime. I don't know.
Okay, all right. It's not super helpful, but maybe the next time you're just like having a conversation, you're just like microwaving something in the break room. You could be like, "Hey, my friend Jen loves murder podcasts and wants a list of all the ones you listen to."
I will remember. I know that the two that really like brought us together was Serial and Lore. Those are two which like we like bonded over.
Okay.
So, and I shouldn't say that this is just one person. Like at least 3 other people at my work listen to murder and crime podcasts. Mm-hmm. So, but continue.
So I've been listening to murder podcasts a lot recently. But I took a little bit of I wouldn't say I took a break. I took a different focus on my usual murder podcast and listened to a series called Missing by a guy named Tim Weaver, who I guess is a British novelist who writes mystery novels. I've never read anything of his. But he did this 8-part series plus then a couple extra on the topic of people who essentially like fake their own deaths and disappear. And basically, like, how do you even do that in the modern age with all the modern technology? And how often does this happen? It was very short. Like I said, it was an 8-part series, and then he came back the next year and essentially hired a team of people to try to track him down. And he like went off and disappeared one day and, didn't bring his cell phone or anything.
I see that there's 11 eps on podcast.
Yeah, right. Because then there was this, then he came back and, like I said, faked his own disappearance to see if people could find him. And anyway, and I won't spoil that, but it was a really interesting podcast. Like I said, a real quick listen, but really a fascinating topic. Because I think everybody's kind of had that thought at one point or another where you're like, okay, could I fake my own death? What's the best way to do it? A lot of people think the best way to do it is to fake drowning, but the best way to do it is probably to fake a hiking disappearance.
I never really thought about it.
What?
I never really thought about it.
Really? Not even one time in your life you thought, oh man, this student loan debt, I could just disappear off into the ether and no one would be able to track me down.
No, the closest thing that's coming to my mind is Touche Amore song talking about playing music at your funeral. That's about the only thing that's popping into my head right now.
Okay. Well, that's not the same thing. Gorehound, that's disappointing of you. Nick, have you ever thought about this? Like faking your own death?
I can't say I have. It sounds too complicated.
Look, I want you both to know that you're a disappointment.
We're just very different people.
You watch so many horror movies.
I
once thought.
I honestly don't watch enough. Honestly. Okay. Well, anyway, so that's my recommendation to people missing the podcast after you're done listening to the All New Culture Cast, of course. I just added it to my list, so I will give it a shot because, a short podcast is very enticing, and I see that a few of them are like 20 minutes, and I'm like,
yeah, it is.
I can do that, maybe.
A day at work where you're not doing much, you can just listen to the whole thing pretty quickly. Yeah. So that is my last recommendation for the week. Do you want to close us out on this, Gorehound?
Yeah, Nick, you have anything else?
Nothing that jumps to my mind, so I'm sorry. I thought I had something else going on, but I'll probably remember.
Dreams you want to tell us about?
No, that's the only dream I remember currently.
Okay.
The last thing that I wanted to mention was that I am still trying to complete my New Year's resolution of running two 10Ks and then also reading 3 books. And I just started my second book, which is The Handmaid's Tale.
Yes, how's that going?
It's very... I'm coming off of because I also just binged 3 weeks worth of comics. So that's what kind of mood I'm in, is a comics mood, and it's just very different and much slower and not as many pictures, and it's slow going, but it is intriguing. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of on the pursuit of an audiobook of it.
Sure.
So that I can maybe get through it a little bit faster.
There is somebody, I believe, on the Wondery network. I don't remember what the show's called, but they are doing an audio play version of A Handmaid's Tale. So
I'm reading that, and I ended up just renting a graphic novel of Storm the Superhero from the library, and I binged that one pretty quick because it's a graphic novel, and you could usually get through that in an hour. Just to hold me over for a bit, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to take so long. But, I mean, it is my New Year's resolution is to read 3 books. So, I have some time. Hopefully, you won't be hearing about this for the next 3 months, but we'll see.
I mean, you got to finish it in time for the Netflix series.
I know, and that's what's Hulu series. That's Hulu. My driving force behind it, is that I will be ready for this. Do you know what the start date is for that?
Sometime in April.
Oh gosh.
We gotta do a podcast on it.
Yeah, gotta get through the book first.
Absolutely.
Speaking of books, I do have something else. I can't believe I didn't bring up.
Oh, man. Let's hear it.
Well, actually, I have two things.
Oh, my gosh, two.
Well, Gorehound, this is a combo. We saw John Wick 2 a couple weeks back.
That we did.
It was...
Yeah. I think, succinctly, it lacked emotion.
Yeah. I never saw the first one, so I can't compare, but that's the impression I get.
But yeah, it was really fun to see it in theaters because it was loud and
It was.
But that is why you go to the theaters, is for the experience, and it was fantastic.
We went with Thor, and Thor put in like earplugs when it got kind of loud.
I've never heard of anybody doing that, but you know.
Did you not hear it because you had earplugs in? Get it? Because plugging the ears. Anyway, and then the other thing, I finished this up back in February, the Anna Kendrick book, Scrappy Little Nobody.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna save all comments because my wife also read it, and we're gonna record a podcast on it sometime in the future. So,
oh my god, that's adorable.
Wait for that.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind checking that out maybe later on in the year.
It's a really easy read.
Yeah. You think that she wrote it?
I did wonder that. It feels like she did, but you never know. I mean, There's so many ghostwriters out there. Who knows? Yeah. I'm going to run on the assumption that she did, just because.
Yeah. The two Gillian Anderson books that I read, like I feel like it was her, but at the same time, I was reading it in her voice the entire time, and so I kind of just like ingrained it into my mind that it was her. And I couldn't like take her apart from it because it was like, that's the reason I was reading it. That's the way that it was coming off in my head. So regardless, it was great.
So I think, is that all we got then?
Yeah. Do you have any trivia?
On what?
I don't know.
Trivia on all the things we watched.
Well, I said some trivia earlier that Glenn Howerton was the runner-up for Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's something.
I'll take it.
I can't imagine.
I could not picture that at all.
I mean, but you know what? If we lived in a alternate reality where Glenn Howerton got the role and Chris Pratt didn't, we'd probably all be saying, I can't see Chris Pratt in that role.
No, Chris Pratt is awesome in every movie that he does, and he's just, I think he's like...
He pretty much plays himself.
Right, but he's a great guy, and his character is actually, or his on-screen personality has evolved in a very good way. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm not sick of and tired of him yet. So, put him in everything.
He was pretty bad in Passengers. Passengers was a pretty bad movie, though.
I heard everything about that movie was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
the Graveyard Queen tried giving me the synopsis of it, and it was nothing on her fault. It was all on the fault of the movie. It's just it's like they just move from point to point, and it's just like
And it allegedly almost ruined a marriage.
Yeah, no, like that.
What's that?
Well, rumor has it is that Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence had an off-screen affair.
Yeah.
Which, again, unsubstantiated, it's just rumors, but there was something suspicious in that shortly after the rumors broke, Anna Faris had a huge ring. So...
Well, yeah, let's close out this episode of Ketchup Volume 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm the Gorehound.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Nick.
And we are the All-New Culture Cast. Catch you next week.
Woo.
You've been listening to the All-New Culture Cast, one of Chicagoland's finest podcasts.
Fall asleep to death.
Blog at znculturecast.wordpress.culturecast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback, comments, and requests. Follow us on social media. Theme music by Ben Saltwater Production. Copyright 2017. Thanks for listening.